Good evening and welcome on a Friday night. I'm going to try to do these more this year. JW Colwell, movie guy, Generation Movie. And I'm going to do some new releases that people are going to be talking about this weekend, as well as one movie people are going to be talking about streaming wise. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. If you like our show, if you like these reviews, which I'm going to try to keep to a concise 10 minutes for each of the movies that we're going to do. Please like us on Facebook, the Indiescape Network, on Instagram, TikTok, IMDb, Threads, Blue Sky, X, all of those places where you can watch us. And we appreciate everybody watching. And the subscribing helps us so much. So if you could please do that, great. If you like our reviews, fantastic. It will be a live review, so if you have a question, without giving away too many spoilers, because I want to be very spoiler light, I'll be happy to answer them. And we're going to talk about 3 movies tonight. 3 movies we're going to talk about for the next half hour or so. We're going to talk about Send Help, which is the new Sam Raimi movie starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. It's like a castaway on crack. We're going to be talking a little bit about Iron Lung, which is really a film experiment, really, by a YouTuber named Markiplier, who has a very huge YouTube stream where people watch him play horror video games, and he has made a movie, and we'll see what happens with it, and we're going to talk about it. And then the other one we're going to talk about is The Wrecking Crew, which premiered on Amazon Prime this week, starring Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa in what action fans might view as a dream pairing. We don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there. Let's get some comments before we start. We're going to be starting with sending help. Let's get some comments. Good evening, friends. Good evening, Ken. Thank you for joining us. Always good to have you. Thank you. It is my DeLorean Back to the Future shirt. Good evening, Joe Ridgely. Good. Nice shirt, JW. Thank you, Joe. And anybody, if you have any questions, by all means, send them in. We will be happy to answer them. But I wanted to get going on doing weekly reviews, and I'm going to try to drop them at around 7:30 every weekend, even when I'm not home. I'm going to tape them and then release them out, just so everybody has them for the weekend. So let's start, and I'll start the clock. Let's start with Send Help. Okay. So Send Help is a thriller. It is a Sam Raimi movie. So Sam Raimi, who is one of the great horror directors, also one of the great action movie directors with regards to like Spider-Man, he is back. And basically this movie is one of those movies where you sit and watch and you feel like, what are you going to do? So long story short, the movie deals with a woman named Linda Little. You can see her there on the poster, played by Rachel McAdams. She is in a very bad way with her boss, played by Dylan O'Brien, who is kind of like a chauvinist, but also kind of like a bro, like a stock bro kind of guy. And he makes fun of Linda. The entire office makes fun of her, even though she's super smart. And she is applied to be on Survivor. So she is somebody that loves Survivor, and they make fun of her for it and all these different things. And she, basically she goes in for a conference. He says, I'm going to get rid of you. I don't see any of your value. Show it to me. We have a big merger coming up. We're going to take a trip to Thailand and show it to me. Show me that you're worth my time. Oh, by the way, people are talking about odors emanating from your cube. So he's humiliating. He's a terrible boss. He's a bad person. He's not a good person. And so what happens is, on the way to Thailand, the plane inevitably crashes, with Linda and Dylan O'Brien's character surviving the crash. And basically it becomes a battle of will. Bradley is not a good person, and he doesn't realize the amount of work Linda has put in to save them, to keep them alive, food, fresh water, shelter, all of those things that she would have done on Survivor. And it becomes this battle of wills. She starts to, she is in her environment, in this particular, she finds she sharpens a spear, kills a wild boar. She builds shelter that is beyond reproach, and does all kinds of cool things like to try to help Bradley kind of get better. He has a damaged wheel, but eventually it gets to the point where they are at odds because he would prefer her not being somebody that is working to make their life better, and would instead be focusing on getting them rescued so they can get out of there. And he also still thinks he's a boss, even though she is clearly the boss now in this environment. And it leads to many tense scenes. It leads to some hostility, and it has some quiet character moments. The script is really good. It is very well written. It is an excellent thriller. Good performances by Rachel McAdams, and who's cast against type. It is very hard to make Rachel McAdams look like a poor waif of a woman, somebody that's constantly in HR and whatnot in your office. And Dylan O'Brien is great as the smarmy kind of stock bro kind of guy that's inherited the business from his dad and has no actual like boss skills and treats people like garbage and kind of just is a force of nature. But Linda in nature becomes a force of nature, and she starts to feel it. And then the thriller will they be rescued? How long will it take for them to get rescued? Are they going to come together? Are all questions that are asked. Does Bradley regret all the way he's treated her? Does Bradley appreciate all of the things Linda has done for him? And what secrets are Linda hiding in her life, where she has had a husband who has passed away, and there are all these little things that come together that create this tension and this character build. She won't let him use the knife that she finds that's washed up on the beach. He wants to use the knife. She thinks he can learn better skills with like a sharpened rock that she's created for him. A little tension, little like subtle things where they get on each other's nerves, and they are clearly different people, both in the office and outside of the office. With all of that said, the direction by Sam Raimi is top notch. He knows how to create a fight. He knows how to create an action sequence. He knows how to create tension. He knows how to bring more tension with regards to things you may or may not be seeing in the middle of the night in the jungle. He is an absolute master of the form. It is a very good movie, and it has a great ending. So it's one of those movies that you have to see. Don't hear anything else about it. I think the trailers have done very good justice to it with how they've portrayed it. And it's just it's tense. It's also asking questions about like our tech bro society and how women are treated poorly, and how Linda reacts to this newfound kind of like commune with nature that makes her fiercer and makes her more determined, and is a complete different version of her personality from The Office. So it's a real fascinating character study, but it's also got really good action sequences. It's got tense moments. It's got everything you want out of a thriller, and I think it's a very high return to form for Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi, again, I'm not saying he's been out of form, but he hasn't been making movies recently. So this is there's a movie with $40 million budget that Raimi has made. He is one of the great directors. When you look through his entire, talking Evil Dead, you go into other movies this is not Evil Dead in a sense. It's more the movie that it equates best with is his 1998 movie, A Simple Plan, or The Gift, right? Where it's something real. It's there. It's not Drag Me to Hell or Spider-Man or Doctor Strange. It's more of the Gift, Simple Plan, which is, a bunch of people, Billy Bob Thornton and everybody kind of like Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, Bridget Fonda, all kind of veering off a plan, like for a crime. It's very much in those lines than it is. Sorry about that. I'm by myself tonight, so it's one of those things. Okay, so the question I see is, if I had one movie to see this weekend out of the three you're reviewing, which should it be in your opinion? I'm going to say it when we get to it, we'll talk about it, but the best of the three is Send Help. The most innovative of the three is Iron Lung, and the best action of the three is The Wrecking Crew. We're going to get to both of them. Sorry, Ken. I hit the wrong button by myself, and I don't have anybody like anything to back up, so it's one of those things. Sorry. Bruce Campbell is in it also. No, he is not. I mean, he might be at the front, but I didn't see him anywhere. So I'd say no. He may, like, I don't think he's in it though. He does make a photographic cameo as Bradley's father. I'm sorry. So he's the father that Bradley talks about in the movie, but he's not actually in it. It's just a photograph. So, but it's a really good movie, and it's a really good out of the shell performance from Rachel McAdams. So it's not like a romance or a comedy. She's really great as this put upon woman who's been picked on and kind of like treated like garbage and picked on by everybody has that boss in their life that they've had that have treated them poorly or done horrible things to them. And she gets to turn the tables. And like I said, it's there. These two pictures are best to this is a tense scene where they're talking about something that's happened where Bradley has done something to her and she doesn't appreciate it. And then this is what happens, Bradley's face as things are playing out. Very tense, super well done, excellent Raimi movie. And it's one of those things where if you go see it, you'll enjoy it with a great ending. It's a fantastic ending. Don't let anybody tell you it before it happens. Okay, next movie. A little bit off the beaten path. We're going to talk now about Markiplier's, a YouTuber, his movie called Iron Lung, which is opening in theaters. Now, the interesting thing here is, and this is one of those movies that we're going to talk about that is, it's very much a less of a movie, more of an experiment. Markiplier is a very talented YouTuber named Mark Fishback. And this movie he has written, directed, produced, edited, stars in. He's everything to it. It has a budget of less than $3 million, and last night it grossed over $3.5 billion. Also, interestingly enough, it has no distributor. It's a movie where Markiplier this YouTuber has taken it to a manager, and the manager has written contracts with 2,800 screens this weekend to get this movie to premiere. So it is an outlier in every sense of the word, and it is possibly a sign of things to come, but also a kind of a testament to this kid's talent is the best way I can describe it. Now, that being said, this movie is not for everyone. And I would also say that is very much for his fans. And his fans are numerous. And everybody in the theater that I was with knows who he is. I don't subscribe to his stuff. Apparently he's a YouTuber that plays scary video games with his friends or while other people are watching. And his reactions and everything have earned him a very loyal fan base. And so he is he is talented. He makes very good videos. He is well liked. He has a lot of subscribers. He has more subscribers than me, and I'm not going to judge him on that. I'm just here to talk about the movie from a movie-going standpoint. Basically, the setup goes something like, in the future, mankind is in a rut, and they have dispatched people to various points of space. Markiplier's characters is one of them, and basically it's something called the consolidation. It's deep, profound sci-fi thingies, right? An event known as the Quiet Rapture, where all the star systems and planets seem to vanish, with no natural phenomenon doing the event. This character is sent to a planet that they've discovered. It's one of, after it's an anomaly planet after the Quiet Rapture, and there's massive oceans of blood on some of these uninhabitable moons. And basically, they send this character from a place called Filament Station after a crime into an iron lung, and Simon is sent down to explore the depths of this blood ocean. The movie is getting a lot of props because of the sheer volumes of blood. There's a lot. It's a very gooey movie. A lot of blood going on. But it is a one-room movie. It is a one-room movie. It is a submersible. It is him by himself figuring things out. He has a giant sci-fi kind of photographic camera on the outside of the ship that can take photographs, but the ship itself doesn't have any windows. Also, there's no other contact except for some computer displays and people that are on the surface that are trying to control his actions as a criminal and trying to get him to give as much information as possible. So it is a one character piece. And where, like, he doesn't have any kind of acting training, but he's not bad. But there's not a lot of stuff going on. It runs 2 hours and 7 minutes. And where I had major problems, the editing, he does everything. He's writing, directing, editing this movie based on a video game that he has played. And it looks great for the amount of money it cost, but it is a one-room set. So it's a one-room set with pipes leaking and blood seeping in, and maybe finding little hints that are very video game like. It's very basic, and it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, and there's not a lot of editing to be had. So I think it goes long, and I think for the fans it may not go long enough, but for people who are just going to see it as maybe as like on a whim, trying to see this new horror film that's out on 3,000 screens this weekend, it becomes a bit of a slog, and I mean that in the best possible respect. I think he's a very talented kid. I think he knows I think he knows what his audience wants, and I think he knows how to give them that. But I also think it's a one character piece. It runs 2 hours 7 minutes, so it becomes a little bit monotonous and a bit of a slog as he's figuring things out. There's nothing on the outside, so there's no real special effects to be had except for like photo displays of images on the outside of the craft that are kind of like X-ray images. So maybe you see something, maybe you don't. It has a very dense kind of Cthulhu vibe to it, where it's, maybe the end of the world, maybe elder gods, maybe the ocean is all of the humans that went in the rapture. Who knows? It doesn't bother to answer any of those questions. And it kind of just goes on, and then it goes on again. And like, for me, it got monotonous, and it also, for me, trying to figure out everybody that's on the voice boxes and the differences between them is so minuscule. Between one woman talking and another woman talking, it's very hard to figure out the characters. it gets into kind of a deep philosophical, like, where are we in the universe? Do we belong? That, asks questions. But in the end, it doesn't have any answers. And it also just kind of goes and goes and goes. And without any action to play off of, or without any, it just becomes an experiment. Now, that being said, I think it's an incredible experiment. And when I came out of the theater last night was thinking, if this kid if he could focus on his acting, if he could focus on his writing or his acting and one or two things, and maybe offshoot to other people the main aspects of a movie, or even get a video game that's a little bit less monotonous than this Iron Lung game appears to be, and he adapted that, or he added friends or something, like, and he was working with people that know what they're doing. I had seen both Send Help and this yesterday, and all I could think of is, if you paired this kid with like a horror game he played and Sam Raimi, you might have something big, right? He's going to bring his fans to the thing, but I don't know that there's anything there horror-wise for fans that are not Markiplier fans. And that being said, I saw a theater full of people that were Markiplier fans, that were there because they were fans of his, all of that. So I'm not going to take anything away from him. I think he's a very talented person, and this experiment of making a movie on his own terms, his budget, with his fans, and being able to get it released without any kind of like studio interference or any kind of studio releasing help. It is an experiment that could, in the very short term, pay off very big long, right? So it is a fascinating film experiment that I don't necessarily think is a good movie. It's just there. And it's there, and it's monotonous, and it slogs a little bit, and you're paying attention to all these different characters, and you don't necessarily know. None of them differentiate himself except for him, and the only reason he differentiates himself is because we get to see him for the entire movie. And that's maybe what his fans want. I think, from my perspective, it's an excellent experiment of whether or not this kid has the chops to make a big budget, make a movie, but it's not necessarily a coherent movie that's good for people that aren't his fans. Is the best way to describe it. A couple comments before we go on to our next and final movie. Yeah, it's like I said, he is a very big YouTuber, and this is something where I was going to bring up at the end, but rest in peace, Canadian actress Catherine O'Hara. We lost Catherine O'Hara today, one of the great comic actresses. We will talk about her in a moment, and we'll talk about her more on Generation Movie and Loud Nerdy next week as a celebration. Last movie of the night, and this one is a streamer, so you can catch it at home if you have Amazon Prime. It is a movie called The Wrecking Crew, and it is a pairing of two action stars. And what I will say, that Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa in an action comedy is probably, you're either in or you're not. And I was in. I like action comedies. I especially like odd pairing buddy action movies from the 80s. I'm talking Lethal Weapon. I'm talking 48 Hours. I love all of that. And I'm not saying it's as good as those, but we've not had one in a very long time. And basically this one starts with two brothers that find out that their father has been involved in a hit and run accident that has left him dead. One brother is a naval officer on Hawaii, and the other brother is a cop on an Oklahoma Indian reservation. And at the beginning of the movie is like every great '80s action movie. The dad's walking through like a shopping place. He puts mail into a mailbox. That, if you're seeing '80s action movies, you know that Jason Momoa's character in Oklahoma will get this. He plays Johnny Hale. Batista plays James Hale, and you know he's going to get it in this area. And basically, he gets it. Well, it comes in after the fact, but while he's in Oklahoma, he gets attacked by Yakuza who come to find him. So, and then the movie's off, and it's basically Johnny coming home to Hawaii. James, played by David Bautista, has a family, has never left Hawaii, and basically they have to deal with their father's murder. Stephen Root plays a detective sergeant who's basically the cop going, "Stop! You're not cops. Don't do that." As he's investigating the hit and run. And then it becomes like one of those movies where you're rooting for them to not only get over their problems as half brothers, but to also find out what they're trying to unravel the conspiracy around their dad. And it is fun. There's a lot of cursing. There's a lot of violence. Bautista and Momoa are really good together. They're not the best actors, but you know what? You have them beating a bunch of people up and then making snotty comments to one another. It just works. And it works in the best possible. Again, it's not Lethal Weapon. It's not 48 Hours, but it is in that vein. And that is, we don't get them that much. We don't get buddy cop action movies. I think the last really good one was The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. So they eventually figure out that there's a conspiracy. There's a lot of good side characters, and like Jacob Batalon in particular plays a character named Pika, who's like the comedic relief / hacker / infiltrator who is working with their dad on a big case. And then there's some really interesting casting. Miyavi, who is a Japanese actor, is fantastic as Nakamura, the head of the Yakuza, who's also very dangerous. Marina Baccarin from Firefly, and some other things, is the love interest for Jason Momoa's character. They talk back and forth. They have a lot of it is a lot of fun, and it doesn't wear itself out. It's not an expensive movie. It runs 2 hours and 2 minutes. Never overstays its welcome. There's 3 really good action sequences. There's an action sequence at the beginning where during a car chase, and then there's a second action sequence with a helicopter and ninjas on bikes, which is one of the jokes in the movie. And then the third action sequence is, of course, Bautista and Momoa going after the bad guys at the end. It doesn't rewrite history books. It doesn't change anything, but it is a good action comedy that I think if most people see it will kind of go, when was the last time you saw one of these? And when was the last time somebody pulled one of these off to the point where you're enjoying yourself and not looking at your watch and not worrying about what time, how long it's been since you saw one of these. And I just think it's one of those fun movies that may be forgotten, but also could end up being very popular on streaming sites. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. The brothers, opposite sides. One's single, has a girlfriend. One has a family with little kids, including the little girl that recently played Lilo in Lilo and Stitch, Maya Kialona. So she's great. She has some really fun sequences with her uncle Johnny, which is Jason Momoa, who's great with kids. And it's never, they always said never do a scene with a kid. But in this particular case, it's a lot of fun. And, you know, will the brothers get together and solve the crime? What happened to their father, while at the same time ripping people's arms off? The answer is yes. And like I said, it's not designed to be thought provoking. It's just a really well crafted action comedy that we don't get a lot of, and it's extensively R rated, extensively violent, lots of cursing. So if you're dealing with the kids, by all means, do not. It's not a kid watch. You know, there's some stuff in it, but it's fun, and it doesn't ask you to. It's a shut your brain off movie, and just watch these two guys. And two things coming out of it. I think Batista and Momoa need to be in more movies together. And the other thing I'm coming out of it is that Angel Manuel Soto, who's the director, who's made some movies recently, made Blue Beetle, which is a great DC movie. He's got something, and he's going to be one of those directors that we need to watch. Lots of good family stuff, coupled with a lot of violence, coupled with a lot of cursing, coupled with these two personalities that are brought together in an action movie, is a perfect blend for a cold weekend in January where there is neither football nor a lot of major sports going except basketball and hockey. So, pop some popcorn, sit down, watch The Wrecking Crew. If you're going out to theaters, Send Help is fantastic. If you're a big fan of Markiplier, Iron Lung, I think, will be your cup of tea, but it's not. I don't think it's for everybody. And like I said, just a really good kind of amalgam of movies that are out there right now. We're coming up into February. February is going to have a lot of big openings, but this weekend is a pretty good weekend, and Send Help has a shot to kind of become like one of the first kind of minor hits this year, because it's budgeted properly and it's got enough oomph from Sam Raimi and Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien to kind of get out there and be kind of a hip, and it's a really good thriller. But okay, before I end tonight, I would be remiss not to mention that Catherine O'Hara passed away. Catherine O'Hara, is one of the great female comedians, and she had so many movies, so many shows, and I remember watching her on Second City Television, the Canadian version of Second City. And she was just one of the funniest people. Now, recently, she was on SCTV with Martin Short, Rick Moranis, Eugene Levy, John Candy, Eugene Levy, or Eugene, right, and Joe Flaherty. And I remember watching them on Saturday, like whenever it appeared on the cable universe. Second City Television. She appeared in movies, Martin Scorsese's After Hours, Mike Nichols' Heartburn in 1986. And then in 1988, she found somebody that really liked her. And again, somebody that got her in Tim Burton. She was Delia Dietz in Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice. She was a voice in both The Nightmare Before Christmas and Frankenweenie. So she was one of those people. Now, one of her most iconic roles, she's of course Kevin McAllister's mother in Home Alone and Home Alone 2. And recently she found her way on television with Schitt's Creek. But the two TV, she's actually been kind of making the rounds on TV recently, but I'd be remiss not to mention that she was in all the mockumentaries, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, For Your Consideration. Also appeared on Curb Your Enthusiasm, 6 Feet Under, Temple Grandin, with Claire Danes, which was her first Emmy nomination. She then hits Schitt's Creek, which she won an Emmy for, playing Moira Rose, and just an incredible comic actress with incredible comic timing. She's also appeared recently in The Last of Us, receiving an Emmy nomination for that, and the show that I will have a tough time recapturing her voice, The Studio, Seth Rogen's The Studio. And so all of these shows were amazing and incredible, and she found her voice really late in her late 60s, early 70s on these TV shows where she received Emmy nominations and notice, appearing in shows that, Last of Us is a sci-fi horror show. Studio is a straight comedy about the movie industry. And Schitt's Creek is, about family. And then, it's a stunning loss for a current crop of television that is really good. And she will be sorely missed as being one of the funniest people at the table, where, you could make a joke with her and she would pull things out that nobody could come up with. And she is just, you know what I mean? It's just, when it came over this afternoon, I was so shocked. And it's just, but she was in her 70s. So it's, you just kind of, I would say you cherish the moments you have with people, and you basically, I'm saying basically, you find a way to celebrate the best of the best, and she was one of the best comedic actresses working. And so, from Generation Movie and me, I want a heartfelt my condolences to her family, which includes her husband and 2 kids, 2 sons, Matthew and Luke. Her husband, Bo Welch, who is one of the great Hollywood production designers. May she rest in peace, and thank you for all of the laughs, wherever we got them from you, because wherever you were, you created laughs. I think that's a good place to end. I will again set this up for next week. Thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, hopefully, if you have any questions or anything, drop them in the comments. I'll try to check some of the comments on the show. Send help, Wrecking Crew, Iron Lung. Pick your choice. They're all pretty. Like I said, Iron Lung for the Markiplier fans. Send Help if you're a big thriller fan and love Sam Raimi movies. And then the Wrecking Crew, if you're a fan of Lethal Weapon, 48 Hours, buddy comedies, Midnight Run, right? Those are the 3 gold standard action buddy comedies. Check them out. Have a great weekend. We'll see everybody. We have Generation Movie coming up on Monday, where we are doing a little movie called The Princess Bride on Generation Movie on Monday. Little movie called The Princess Bride. Ending our Remembering Rob Reiner retrospective. And then Tuesday, Loud Nerdy on the Indie Escape Network with my good friends Jerry, Raven, maybe Joe. I don't know. Thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody have a great weekend. Go watch a movie, find something to watch, and try to stay warm. Theater might be a good place. Bye.